العدد الأول من البودكاست نتاع بان. هذه فكرة جاتنا كنا نجربوها. ماشي بودكاست بروفيسيونال، بودكاست لايك. هو الكونسيبت سيكو راح نديروا informal discussion. أول ضيف هو أخونا طاهر، هو CEO فاوندر تاع ستارت اب كوبلكس، راح يحكي لنا عليها إن شاء الله. وإن شاء الله يكونوا دوطر انفيتي في المستقبل. هما أي واحد فولونتير حاب يكون انفايتد يحكي لنا على الكارير تاعو تاني مرحبا. سينو احنا نسيو نبروبوزيو للناس اللي نشوفوهم. طاهر يجاوبنا الكارير تاعو على كومبلكس، ومن بعد نفتحوا المجال للحضور اون بيرسون واللي اونلاين باش يبوزيو لي كيسيون تاعهم. وفيل فري تو اسك اني كويشن. ولكن نبداو بالوارمين اب مع خونا طاهر، ومن بعد لي كيسيون يبداو يجيو بشو. تفضل امين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ليكيب اللي راهم هنا مع ليكيب اللي راهم اونلاين ثاني. الله يعطيك الصحة على الفرصة. احنا نشوفوها فرصة. اولا وقبل كل شيء راح تكون الناس تتعلم، lessons راح يكونوا learn ان شاء الله السيشن هذه معك. والامر الثاني نشوفوها فرصة ثاني لطاهر انه تكون تعريفة على الستارت اب تاعو وعلى الامور القيمة اللي يقدر يبارطاجيهم مع ليكيب كامل اللي حاضرين. لا كيسيون الاولى اللي تجي في البال، شكون هو طاهر؟ لو نسألك برك تقول شكون هو طاهر. تفضل طاهر.
First of all, نهضروا لونجلي بالعربية.
اللغة اللي تحاساك.
très bien. دونك السلام عليكم اللي راهم هنايا واللي راهم اونلاين. يعطيك الصحة ياسين، يعطيهم الصحة كاع الجماعة اللي اورجينيزاو هذا الايفينمون. دونك طاهر أوهروش من الجزائر، من إخري اكزاكتومون. دونك قريت في الجزائر، ومن بعد قريت في الحراش لين ديزي بوراوي كيما ياسين. بعد من بوراوي دونك قعدت 4 لا 5 اني درتها في فرنسا.
بوراوي لا سيتي يونيفرسيتي، الجماعة اللي ما يعرفوهاش.
ايوا جماعة السيتي يونيفرسيتي تاع الحراش.
ايوا
دونك 4 سنين في الآخر في الحراش، ومن بعد لا 5 اني جي في فرنسا. مع بعد بنعيشوش محمد نعيشوش. دونك بعد في فرنسا قرينا مع بعض. On a fait un stage ensemble ثاني في جي اي.
بنعيش محمد اللي ما يعرفوش ثاني كان هنا في النرويج، كان يخدم في جوجل.
ايوا
وهو كوفاوندر مع طاهر. بعد تحكينا عليه. دوكا مشى من النرويج في قطر، وراي ممكن نديروا معاه سيسيون. دوكا راه ماناجر في مايكروسوفت في قطر. تفضل.
دونك كنا في فرنسا. دونك خدمنا في جي اي 1 عام مع بعض. بعد هو راح لوزيتاجوني عند شنومبرجي. بعد يكمل لو ستاج تاعو في شنومبرجي، دونك يشارشي كالكان دوطر pour continuer le stage تاعو. دونك هاي انا رحت. C'était une expérience intéressante parce que كي لحقت لفرنسا je voulais poursuivre une carrière تاع recherche. رحت للريسيرش اللابوراتوار اللي خدمت فيه. كانوا يديروا موديليزاسيون دو تايطلهم executable UML. موديليزاسيون دو سيستم امباركي يعيطولها. دونك embedded system modeling. وانا حبيت فريمون نخدم في هذيك الريسيرش اريا، بصح جو مي سوي روندو كونت بلي على فان شغل فينالمون ما كنتش حاب ندير ريشيرش. باسكو كي تدخل داخل لا ريشيرش ابليكي، كي تدخل داخل الاندستري تشوف بلي سي عالمين مختلفين. واحد يمشي 100 في الساعة والآخر يمشي بنوتر فاسون. En général, les research, ils ne sont pas bien définis. Sinon, je ne connais pas research. Et donc, du coup, رحت لشنومبرجي. donc تبعت محمد بن عيشوش. وكي خدمت تماك لقيت بلي سي سي مانتيريسي وجيت هنايا ومن بعد
هذيك في ستاديوني.
خدمت في ليزيتازوني ومن بعد جيت هنايا في الأسلو كيف R&D عند المرج.
اوكي.
وثاني لا بوزيسيون تاعي في امريكان خليتها لواحد اخر ثاني.
الجيريان ثاني. مزيان هاي الخدمه.
والله.
ومن بعد R&D مع شلونبرجي ما فرجت عليك، حبيت تشوف حاجه اخرى، كيفاش مشيت للنكست رول؟
والله كيفاش نقول لك it was an interesting time, I would say, because in the experience itself, what you would learn with the corporate is not something you would learn, for example, in research. It's a completely different field. One of the things that there is a book. It's called The E-Myth Entrepreneur, and it talks about people who usually go and start their own businesses. And the guy studied many founders, and there is a pattern that repeats itself. It's usually someone who is technical. That at some point you might think, you know what, I'm building this, building these systems myself. Why would I build them for a company? I'll just go and build them for myself, right? Then you quit, then you go build your own company, but then that's when you get punched in the face. Because
Not that easy.
It's not that. It's. I think if you're not introduced to it, if you don't have like a mentor or someone who's going to talk you through it, you will face the harsh realities of the startup environment, I would say. Because at the end of the day, having a product does not necessarily mean that you have a business. Product is probably maybe 20% of a business. So, and these are the things that you learn. Ideally, someone would teach you these things. But if you don't get that chance, then you would learn those the hard way.
كاينة حاجة توقفني هنا. It's really important. Now we do have a lot of people, for example, we have Nassim is working already in the research lab. It's totally different environment and business when you take it to a market and when you are working في the research lab. It's totally different. تقدر تحكي واحد من research lab تحطه اليوم في business area is not going to do anything maybe.
Right.
ولا is going to start a new step in his life learning new things.
Right.
شكون هو الكاستمر تاعي؟ challenges اللي راح نلقاهم.
صح.
في confirm هذه الحاجة طاهر.
Absolutely. Yes. Even in corporate, I was a software engineer and project manager, engineering manager, and one of the difficulties we have always struggled in corporate is you never get to talk to the end customer.
Yeah.
Especially when you are in corporate, the software that you build is usually sold to users who don't even know you, and you would never hear their feedback because it just happens up there.
And it's all about the feedback, right?
It's all about the feedback. That's the thing. Then when you shift, you get in front of users. It's a completely different mindset. But what I learned in Stock and Buy back in the days, that's how the company was called in the early first 3 years.
ممكن نقاطعك باش نبداوها سيكونس. كنت في شلونبرجي R&D. الحياة جميلة والعصافير تزقزق.
أيوة.
بعد نهار انت ديسيديت تخرج وتبدا النيو ادفنتشر هذه. كيف جاتك ليدي؟ انت بديت تحكي باللي when you are building something بعد تجيك في بالك why not for me. بصح وين جا الديكليك كانك why not؟
الديكليك كما نقولوا all credit goes to محمد بن عيشوش. الله يذكره بالخير. Mohamed, c'est quelqu'un que j'estime beaucoup.
Special dedication.
نعملوا
يشوف الفيديو هذه بلي.
اتصلت به الصباح قلت له إلا تخرج ما يكون مستشفى.
في الحق واش كيفاش صرات كانت سيتي en 2016. كانت بدات عندي طفلة ونورفيج عندك وانا مرتي كانت ستوديونت. دونك ديكو كنت قادر ندي عام ساباتيكال paid 100%. وهذاك العام شغل مع البيبي سي فري راه طول طون تبكي طول طون غير تاكل طول طون صح عندك كوميم دو طون بور دونك سكي سي باسي في هذاك الوقت سي كو اون سي مي انا ومحمد طون بلان فيها On avait déjà un petit produit qui marche bien. It's really you can call it an MVP or like that was working. We had a few customers, and the feedback from the market was positive. So we thought, you know what, why not jump in 100% and see what we can get out of it.
Perfect. ومن بعد هو كيفاش جاتو ليدي اسكو خدمتوا على سوفتوير يشبه ولا حاجه تشبه من بعد كنا نجيو ليدي تاع البيزنس موديل في حد ذاته ولكن كيفاش جاتو ليدي
هي في الحق جاتنا من الجزائر. جات من المارشي سي با فريمون مارشي الجزائر بصح لا سيتوياسيون في الجزائر pre 2010. One of the major difficulties, especially if you're from a remote area like where I'm from, if you are a business, usually what happens is let's say you need a car part, right? Your car broke down, you need a part. You go downtown to someone, and that person is going to tell you, yeah, I know someone from Ulma. I'll call them, or I'll
mean spare parts.
Spare parts. I'll go there, let's say this week, and get something for you. Then the week goes by, the person drives to Ulma. That person is not there. You don't have your part. Everyone is angry.
Yeah.
And the idea was, can we build something that a wholesaler, like the guys in Ulma, would have some sort of like portal. It's not really like e-commerce where it's open to the world, but rather like a wholesale portal, a B2B portal, if you like, where the retailer of the spare parts could just connect to their website and put an order, and then they get delivered to that person. This is actually how it started. This was the idea.
Okay.
And the original product that we built was for this exact problem. But then again, you get punched in the face because it's a very, very hard problem to solve.
The initial idea was to simplify something.
Exactly.
According to, let's say, bad experience or a hard one. Let's say not a...
Yes, exactly.
So جات ليدي فهمت محمد ديروا ستارت اب ومن بعد شنو فاش ستيبس راني نحكي هكذا باسكو ممكن كاين يجمع اللي عنده اون ايدي بصح يشوف فيها هيوج ريسك تو ستارت اب in Norway كيفاش هما شنو هما first steps step 1 2 3
Right.
After the idea, getting the idea, and then what are they doing?
So that's a great question. I think it really depends on the market, because it depends whom you're going after. If you're selling something to corporate, then you would take a different approach compared to when you would sell something B2C. When I would build something like, let's say, Facebook, I'm selling it to the masses. It would have a different approach compared to selling something to corporate. Because usually when you sell software to corporate, you're pretty much going in negotiations for maybe 2 years, 3 years. And those people who would work for you to go and negotiate those contracts, you need to pay them, right? So you need a lot of money up front. And these are all of the things that you need to think about. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have millions to start. This is where investors would come in. Right? If you read the literatures, you will find like different two categories basically of founders. Those who would tell you that I would never work with an investor because you would give away equity. They would become your boss. You always run the risk of project. You have the other category who tells you that no, you need VCs, you need investors to start. If you take a company like Google, for example, it wouldn't have existed without investors because they need a lot of hardware and a lot of upfront cash. So I think this is, before we dive into the details of these things, these are the things that you need to think about, because it doesn't help to build something then you struggle to distribution channel. Because this is the most important thing in a startup is how would you distribute the product? If you don't have a distribution channel, you're dead. End of story.
But in Norway, is there any schemes how they help you? We know about a little bit about Innovation Norway.
Yes.
يعني ستارت ابس اذا نبداو ستارت اب الإضافة الأولى registration is easy. I think you can do it in 5 minutes. And then you need an account which are at least 30,000 كرون. last time I know 30,000 minimum.
30,000,
yeah, back in 30k. still I think مازال 30k. عندك تحتاج 30,000 كرون
أيوة.
and you can register your company and you can do it very fast. But then how to approach to get first funding? At least some help from Innovation Norway. Did you go through this channel?
We tried.
Okay.
Tried, but it was very hard.
Okay.
It was very hard, and the reason was usually when you have an idea that is not a $1 billion idea, investors would just walk away because it's not interesting for them. That's really the tough part.
Yeah.
Like if you don't come with something, when you tell them, oh, I'm either building a B2B or building a mini ERP, it's like, yeah, I mean, there's a million ERPs out there in the market. Why would I invest in it? So
الإيديا الأولى هي
أيوة صح.
لازم تكون really creative.
Exactement. And that is the Innovation Norway. So that's the first thing that might come across as very challenging. So if you are in research, then you are more likely to get some funding from them, because usually you would come up with innovative ideas.
مع العلم مش عارف إذا كان تسييت أموال الستep الأولى غادي يسميوها market research to validate the idea. They give like 100,000 kron, not much. But then the second step, they give you more than $1 million, but they need to be equity. They will take some equity from your. يدخلوا الشركة معك.
You mean they have some
Innovation Norway. Yeah. So أنتم ما جربتوا ما what reason إذا كانت تقدر تحكي لنا؟
هي investors كاع كي تروح تحوس على external investment خدمة. دونك كي تكون راك تخدم في الشركة تاعك، سواء راك تخدم مع البرودوي، راك مع دي كليون، راك مع دي زومبلوي، سواء راك تجري ديريا لي زانفستيسور، تقدرش ديرهم في. دونك وحنايا اوتو ديبي دونك كنا حابين نروح عند انوفيشن نوروي، بس كي شفنا لي كومبليكاسيون اتسيتيرا اون سي دي we'll focus more on the product. Let's focus on the product, build something that actually works, something that solves a real problem, a real pain. And then if that catches on, then we'll see. But then we never looked back. We didn't go to innovation all the way.
I like solving problems. Solving problems. I would jump to the first question فيما يتعلق بالبزنس سيتو. شكون هي كومبلكس؟ واش تقدر تعرفها؟ What does it do exactly?
Right.
واش تقدر تعرفها لنا؟ creation ديال تاعها وكيفاش تأثر وكيفاش واش تقدر دير واش تقدر تسهل هذه الكومبلكس.
دونك en 2016 كيف لينا ستوك اند باي مع محمد. دونك مع محمد حنا كان لينا ستوك اند باي ليدري سيتي
هذا الاسم الاول ستوك اند باي.
ايوا سيتي جوستومون راح نديروها لي تاع بي تو بي دونك عندك كان هول سيلر، عندك كان ريتيلر، عندك كان بورتاي وين يديروا لي ترانزاكسيون تاعهم. و دونك l'idée هذه سي à la base le problème de base كاع سي gestion de stock. ومن بعد كي ça n'a pas fonctionné في الجزائر. Didn't work out because of many reasons. One is we're far away. Then we managed to get someone to help us locally, but then we faced the infrastructure problem. There was no internet pretty much back then. I remember in 2010 2010 باغ اكزومبل انا يفري كي نحب ندير في لي زيميل تاعي
مشكل نوصل السيبر
نهرب طون ابيي باش نشوف لي زيميل تاعي لا نقعد في لافي
السيبر وراح كونيكسيون راح
كونيكسيون تسمع هذاك الموديل اللي عملت الدرويش جو بونس لا جينيراسيون تاع دوك ما يعرفوش هذاك الدروي هذيك تاع لا دي اس ال اكزاكتومون. دونك هذا الشيء كاع باسكو حنا ليدي تاعنا كنا عايشين هنايا اون اوروب ونو سيتي شغل 3 جي لا 4 جي في هذاك الوقت
اكيد
سيتي ماكي بصح الجزائر ما كانش يافي شويه في الجي يافي لا 2 جي من بعد بدات تدخل 3 جي بصح سيتي با سوفيزون سيتي با سوفيزون لي تكنولوجي تاع بكري pour builder des web apps qui sont lightweight ما كانش.
اسكو تشالنج هنا كان باش تبيلديو البرودكت في حد ذاته ولا باش تكومونيكيو بيناتكم ولا وين كان علاش البروبليم تاع الانترنت انا سوبوز؟
علاش لو بروبليم باسكو حنا او تو ديبار اون فولي فار اون ابليكاسيون ساس ديجا وتكون اون ابليكاسيون كلاود cloud native. Mais ce n'est pas une application web installée à PC Tag parce que installer une application في PC Tag a d'autres problèmes. ليه أنا في ما carrière كاع في corporate في هذه la partie تاع desktop software. Desktop software has its own problems, I would call it. Because once you ship the software, it's gone. And if there's a bug, how would you recall it? If there are logs, how would you get them back? It's all of these things, whereas you don't have these things in cloud, right? Because the software is still in your hands.
And process
Just exactly, just offering it as a service. And that's why we really wanted to go for cloud first. So we had those issues, so technical issues.
So we started back 2010.
Yes, so the product itself, the idea.
بعد the challenges اللي تلقيتهم في الجزائر, what was the next step?
So the next step was, why not take this to the international market? Why should we restrict ourselves to the Algerian market, right? To jump a little bit to the end, then at some point what happened is, that's pretty much what we planned at the beginning, is didn't work out in Algeria, then let's go to the international market and we'll circle back. Once Algeria is ready, we will circle back, and that's actually what we're doing.
That's smart.
It's coming as a question.
Let's leave it to the end.
بس نرجع لك اللي يسميوه الام في بي المينيموم فايبل برودكت. هاي كيفاش بديتوا تخدموه؟ شحال شد لكم الوقت؟ باسكو كنت انت برك محمد ولا درتوا سام فريلانسرز ولا سام بيبل هابي؟ حكينا كيفاش درتوا.
والله درناها انا ومحمد وسيتي في الويكاند لي سواري، ومن بعد قلت لك كي خديت لا باترنيتي ليف تاعي، محمد ثاني كي لا بري دو طون باش نونجاجي، خدمنا عليها مع بعض. بين بري دو طون تقريبا لي ساباتيك ولا دونك on a travaillé ensemble. Et le MVP c'était pas évident. MVP is not that easy. You know, we all, you know, whenever you want to build a startup, the first thing you think of is Eric Rice's book, the MVP or something, or minimum viable product. It's like a blue book. You buy that one and you read it like you know, you read it every night, and you're like, yes, I'm going to build a startup. That's not how it works. That's absolutely not how it works, because. And I can see now, like when you look at the book itself, he talks, for example, about the time they built emojis into MSN Messenger, right? But then when you build a system like Qoblex, which I'm going to get back to, the product itself, like the problems it solves. When you solve something that is complex, you cannot solve half of it, and you throw it to the market. It's not going to work, right? So at some point, then you need to build some sort of horizontal version of the software, meaning it's not like a vertical slice. You build one part and then you build another part. It has to be end-to-end. The problem that end-to-end, it will take you a lot of time.
It brings me to the next question.
Yes.
To have it end-to-end, you need like early adopter, the first client who gives you some feedback. You give him like a prototype, whatever we can call it.
Yes.
He tried it and I give you some feedback, but حكينا على هذا البروسيس.
Avec une anecdote, Mohamed, qui connaît les premiers temps, les premiers first version we deployed. I was planning on a lock feature. So the idea is I deploy it, and then we wait, and then we have 50 users and we lock it down, right? You know, when you watch those movies like The Network, you might think that a startup, you just throw it out there in the market and people are going to rush into you. So we built this thing, we put it online, and crickets. There was no one ever cared. We were even giving it for free. Free of charge, yes.
It's not online.
And that's when you realize it's not that simple. That's not what the Eric Rice book says, right? That's what they don't tell you, is you build something and then you will have people who just come. That's not how it works. So you need to find a way to find those 10 first customers, 10 first early adopters. That's very, very important. How do you find them? Unfortunately, that's the answer that doesn't help anyone. It depends. It depends on where you are. And usually those customers that you grab, those first 10, they must be paying customers. Like if you have your friends testing your app, that's not,
doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. No, it has to be someone you don't know and someone who pays for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
because as a client, he will give you feedback. Otherwise, your friend will you not rely on his.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
Okay.
as long as he's going to pay, then he's going to claim, to give comments, to
Yeah,
maybe require extra things.
yeah. The interesting part, what we figured was, we originally went with a freemium model, because freemium model is good, but it's going to cost you money. Because usually 90% of your users would be free. The idea is they would be using the system for free, and then at some point they go out of the free version, and then they would need to subscribe, and they need to pretty much convert to a paid plan. And our idea was we give it for free, so we get those users who are going to give us feedback. Now, interestingly enough, it's those users who use the software for free who don't care. Seriously, they don't care. They never share feedback, and they get angry when something doesn't work.
Yeah.
Seriously. And what we noticed is the more a customer pays, the more they are willing to share feedback, and the more they are willing to help you. Because at the end of the day,
They leverage.
Because you are solving their problem.
exactly,
Yeah.
and they have invested in
Yeah.
the software. You see?
Exactly.
Whereas those who use it for free is like, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was an interesting,
But then
find.
the first adopters, how did you find them? كيفاش filters؟ بس تجي network تاعك network تاع محمد ولا friend of friend or there's to some ad.
Did you beg someone?
Oh,
to it? Well,
Well, we tried. We
Yeah.
tried begging. We tried ads. Remember, yeah, it was. We tried Google Ads. It was a waste of time and money. So if you think, and if you look at, if you want like advice, detailed advice on how to find those users, there's a video series from YC, Y Combinator. They have a lot of videos around these topics. And one of their like first thing they say is if you go to Google Ads, then you're very bad. You're not a good founder, because it's the worst distribution channel you can go to. It depends on the business, of course, but usually you won't go with Google Ads because they're very expensive and they are hard to tweak unless you are an expert, which we weren't. So for us, we thought, you know what, we solve inventory management challenges for small businesses. Let's just go for inventory management keyword. But then you have a lot of people looking for free, like they would type free inventory management, and you would come up first in the link, and they click, you pay Google, you get nothing. So at the end of the day, I think at some point we paid something, if I remember well, we paid like $800 and we got one customer. So, and $800 for a customer who uses the software $50 a month is not a good deal.
Yeah.
So you're actually losing
So
money.
next, after Google Ad didn't work.
So after Google Ads didn't work, we went with the platform. It's called the platform marketing strategy. So in marketing, in general, you have 19 channels you can explore. There are 19 in total, but corporates, startups, everyone is using. Any type of marketing you can find is going to fall into one of these 19 channels. And platform marketing is one of them. Platform marketing is like that little fish that swims under a shark, So the idea is you would plug into one of these large platforms and you would suck customers from it. So that's actually what we did. We built an integration with Shopify.
Shopify.
Yes, and Shopify has customers. Shopify is actually quite good.
it's really huge.
It's very, very big.
Yeah.
And they have an inventory management, but it's a module, but it's very, very basic. It's still very basic. And so we plug into that, and then we offer the services via Shopify. That's how we got there.
You pay them. You pay Shopify for a service of.
It's free until I think now they changed it. It's free until you reach the $1 million in revenue. Then you pay them 15% commission.
Okay, that's a big help.
It is big, and 15% might seem like a big chunk.
No, but for startup, for someone who starting.
Yes.
No, Shopify, they have a lot of opportunities for people who doesn't have an idea about Shopify. But even for single person,
Yes.
they have big opportunities for someone who'd like to be active.
Yes.
I like the example that you mentioned, this small fish that is following the shark from behind. Yeah, the good thing. So you follow the pathway of Shopify that they
Exactly.
already strategy executed then, but you used your best practice maybe.
That's right. That's right.
That's
Because if I come back to the problem that you mentioned earlier, what is it? What is the problem that we're really solving?
Yeah.
When you look into small businesses, you start your business from your, let's say, basement, you sell things, and then your business takes off. And usually you would, what we noticed in the market is the majority would use an Excel file to manage like their orders. If you look at Algeria, for example, that's what they still use. You would use an Excel file. And it actually works. Today we have customers, they come in and they tell me, hey, I'm making this much revenue. And I'm like, you know what, stay with the Excel file. It's much better. Don't make your life more complex. But then what happens as you scale, you quickly go out of that or go out of what Excel can solve for you. For example, I've seen customers who built, I would call it almost like a platform on top of Excel. You see it, it's like
IBP, integrated business planning.
Yeah.
If you have an idea about it.
Mhm.
It's kind of SAP integrated with Excel, and
Yes.
they embedded their machine learning
Correct.
that is learning from
Correct.
the transactions.
So you can do a lot of things with Excel, but the challenge then is it doesn't scale. If you grab in more team members, then how are they going to edit, let's say, the same Excel file? It doesn't work, right? It is true that today you have Google Sheet and you have Microsoft Excel online, etc., but it's still not that. Like, for example, in Excel, I can go into any cell and change it. There is no public, right? It will tell you that Tahar changed this file, but what did I change? What is it that I changed? So these businesses, when they find themselves naturally pushed to using an ERP, something like Odoo, something like SAP, because the business needs it. The problem with ERPs is they are heavy, they're clunky. If you look at SAP, it's a call from the 90s. They're horrible. And you actually have to pay loads of money for it. And the majority of the time, you pay for something that you're not using. I remember we had a customer from the UK, and we were in a meeting, and then they said, "We're using SAP. We want to move to using your software. Can you help us?" I asked them, "Can you tell me how you're using SAP so I can see whether the software is a fit?"
Yeah.
No one had a clue. They didn't know how they were using it. They were just told, "We bought this software, use it." So that's pretty much what we do. To cut the story short, you take the big ERP like SAP. We don't replace SAP. We don't compete with SAP. It's just way, way, way too big for us. But we pretty much go into that little 10% of SAP that small businesses need. We build something that is better in terms of usability, in terms of ease of use, and something that is built for the masses. You don't have to be an accountant to understand how to use the software. And you actually understand why, for example, someone like Shopify have a very simple inventory management module, because they built it for the masses. They didn't build it for the accountants or those who have heavy background in inventory management. So that's pretty much where we come in. At some point, you have your Shopify store, then you outgrow what Shopify offers, then you come to use.
Maybe Shopify had the vision that kind of people like you, for example, that they might jump and use it in a good quality, because after all, is Shopify is going to appear in your work or not at all?
It depends.
Okay.
Sometimes it would,
Sometimes it does.
yes.
اوكي نوليو للفيرست كاستمرز اللي جبتوهم على شوبيفاي. كيفاش كانت الفيرست اكسبيرينس تاعكم؟ اسكو كان الام في بي سكسس؟ وات ليفل؟ كيفاش كان ريتيرن اوف اكسبيرينس من عندهم؟ احكي لي شويه.
Yeah, so I think that's when we really faced the harsh realities of the market. Again, you read in a book about an MVP, like you remember that picture of an MVP you build and then you iterate, deploy, and you iterate. It all sounds nice, right? That's not how it works. You build, you get insults like this.
Insults.
Yeah, seriously, yes, seriously. And even now, I mean, we have quite a robust platform. You get these customers every now and then that will tell you that, yeah, this thing is uncooked, it's not complete, it doesn't work. So, but that's all feedback, right?
Yeah,
that's all feedback. And the thing is, and just today, I spent the day with my senior engineer trying to fix something where you deploy the software and it's built to work this way, and you find customers bending it backwards and just does things that you haven't planned for, then you realize, oh, this thing, that's not how I built it. That's not what I built.
It's also an opportunity to add more features.
Either more
To
features
grow it.
or more protections around it. So,
Or maybe upskilling the customer. What are you delivering exactly? Is that sometimes we see the issue, the customer doesn't know what we have delivered, that he's paying for it.
correct. And if there's one advice that I could share for anyone who wants to start a product like this, you need to understand the jobs to be done. I think there's a framework that is built by forgot the name of the guy, but he has a very nice book, and you can find his videos on YouTube. It's called Jobs to be Done. Just look it up. It's an excellent framework for anyone to build products, to build MVPs. And I think that's what we missed in the beginning. Because when you pick something and you say, oh, I'm going to build an MVP, but then you don't really understand the job to be done. And the job to be done is, I log into the software, I need this module to do this, and this module needs to feed that data to another module, and then to another module, and maybe to Shopify, and then to the accounting,
The whole chain. Yeah.
the whole chain, right? The original idea we had is like, oh, let's just build this thing. But then the early adopters, they sign up, they use that thing, it's nice, the module is nice, but now how do I move that data to the other module? Then you're like, we don't have that module. Yeah, this doesn't work. They leave.
And coming back to you as a person, كانوا عندك doubts هكذا باسكو تخرج من like comfort zone as a role in Schlumberger or big company, then it's a huge risk that you are quitting and starting your own business that you are not sure if it will work or not. Most probably it will not work. Like it's 90% of startups are failing. And then you build something, you put a lot of efforts, months to build an MVP, and then you get some feedback from this early adopters crap. حاب نسمعك كيفاش كان الشعور تاعك في هذاك الوقت. باين بلي it's not easy at all.
No, it's not. Sometimes it's like you wonder, like, well, why did I do this again? It is. It's very hard. Very hard. It's mainly hard because as you said, it's you quit. I have one of my colleagues in Schlumberger who says on était bien dans notre couple.
ايوه.
واش كاين
يا بنينا.
واش داك. Donc d'un coup tu te retrouves surtout en Norvège technique. C'est un pays qui est très très cher. It's a very expensive country. Very expensive country. In Europe in general, you don't get that much help. It's not like the US. You know, I remember in 2000, I think it was 2011 or 2012, there was this guy from the US who wrote an app. What it does is you open your iPhone and it sends you a message that says, yo, that's it. Here is $1 million. And in Europe, you show a product, you show customers, and they ask you like paperwork and then questions, and then I think that's really the hard part.
The ecosystem, Norwegian ecosystem doesn't have much.
No. The Norwegian, even the European ecosystem. You know, there is this famous interview of Steve Jobs in '84. It's on YouTube as well, where I think it was in France. The journalist interviewed Steve Jobs, and they asked him, "Do you think Apple would have become what it is today if it was a European company?" And Steve Jobs just said, no, that's impossible because of the environment, because of the way the economy is configured, is set up, is very different between the US and Europe and Norway. That was the struggle in the early days, because I remember we were going to conferences and to these presentations to present the software to see if we can get some funding. It was all negative. Then you find yourself in this very difficult situation where you only have 6 months worth of money to live off, especially when you have a wife and you have kids.
Yeah.
You have 6 months. Do you spend them on the product, or do you spend them chasing someone to invest in you? Knowing that 99% of those you would chase would say no. So and there is nothing like to give you to give you hints that something would work or not, because this is also something that is quite difficult. Like when do you start? Right? When you start something,
Give up.
yeah. When do you give up? You don't know.
What was the smallest thing that was pushing you to continue? اليوم نوصف ناخذ أي واحد is trying to do something.
Yes.
He can come to you, and I might ask one of the guys. I'll ask Mahfoud. I'll tell him he, for example, he studied hard or something, and then sometime he wanted to quit.
Yes.
He might come to me. He's going to tell me my parents. My parents, they were pushing me. Don't stop. Just continue. Two things. What was the smallest ولا the biggest يعني reason خلاتك you want to continue? Or maybe either ولا let's call it supported you ولا something خلاك تكمل.
It's for me, it's always the co-founder. Be it back in the days when it was with Mohammed or with Yazid, who is my co-founder now. I don't think I would have continued if it wasn't for that. Because, and this is where really I pay a lot of respect for these solo founders who build companies. It's very, very hard. Because at some point it's gonna get into you. Seriously. If there is not someone who can share that with you, then it's very hard to push forward. Extremely hard. I could say passion and things like that, but believe me, sometimes it's just not about passion.
So being alone in this huge pathway, it's not easy.
It's very hard. Very hard.
And we have been to Mohammed, وبعد Mohammed has quit at certain points. وليت وحدك.
Yeah, because in the beginning it didn't take off.
Yeah,
that's what we thought, right? It's like MVP. You have 1 year, go. You have your full salary. You're at home. You go. 1 year passed like this, and nothing. So.
بدخل ضيعت عام سي با المومون باش ليفور اللي درته في العام هذاك يروح هكذاك بلاش لازم.
سي با ايفيدون باسكو نيشا في العام الأول كملناه وكذا كنا we were making something like 10,000 euros a year, which is nothing. Absolutely
doesn't cover even
no, nothing. 10,000, especially
it doesn't cover.
and the problem is you're taxed on those.
Yeah,
yes,
that's ridiculous, right?
You will end.
Like the other thing that you mentioned earlier about Norway, when you if you exceed 50,000 NOK a year, you have to pay tax.
50,000 is nothing.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
I can go out and sell candies on the street, and I can make 50,000 NOK a year, right?
And how much taxes?
In terms of tax, it's the same as the other European countries.
مش يبداو 5% ل 10% ومن بعد يبداو على حسب الريفينيو.
No, company tax is around 22%, and then when you take them as dividends, you pay 37%.
Then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Either you're selling candies, or you're selling technology, or doesn't matter.
In fact, it's actually a little bit more complex for software.
It's all about numbers.
Just so if you build software in Europe, just so you know, usually when you have a business and you export, let's say I'm making shoes in Norway and I export. When someone buys those shoes from the US, that person doesn't pay tax because it's an export. This doesn't apply to software. So in software, if you are in Norway, you deploy software and you have users using it from the US, you must pay taxes to the US, which is absolute nonsense, and it's very, very hard to tackle. That's number one. Number two, that you should always remember is get yourself a good accountant. It's also something that in the beginning we thought, starting a company, let's register, you have your number, and then you go. Then you make up money, and then you're happy. That's not how it works. At the end of the year, then you get this email from, I think it was the first email that we got from Alting, where it says you have to submit your shareholder, and I was like, what the hell is that? I couldn't even understand the document. Like the title, like, what does it mean? That's when you need accountant.
Because at the beginning, you are just two, you want to do everything yourself, and you don't want to spend money on اكسبنسز اكاونتنت هادو كامل غاليين ما دونك مي
غاليين.
سيرتان بوان لازم لك واحد بروفيسيونال يخدم الخدمه سينو قادر دير غلطات اللي
هي في الحق لو كونطابل يفو كونتي واحد مينيموم نورفيج واحد 20,000 كورون في العام مينيموم. هذوما سي دي دوكيومون اللي لك
ويدير ان دوكيومون في العام هذا با بلوس موش حاجه اللي يخدم على كل.
كاين واقيلا 3 دوكيومون في العام. كاين تاع ديسمبر تاع شير هولدرز، كاين واحد في ماي بعد نسيت تاع لاخر تاع وين ديكلاي البيلون البيلون ايتترا. كاين نوتر واقيلا هذوما كاع واحد 6,000 كورون واحد 6,000 واحد 7,000 تحطهم كاع مع بعض.
It's a budget.
It's a budget. And initially, the first month we were made a little bit of revenue. It's like we had like I think 25,000 NOK. Then we were like all happy. It's like yes, it's taking off. And then we got the bill from the accountant. We got 25,000. راحت كامل.
دونك النرويج ما كنتش تشجع باللي واحد يدير ستارت اب غاليه. كاين دوطر في اوروبيان بالك موان شار كوتي تاكس كوتي مي الواحد ثاني لازم يديرها وين راه عايش. وشنو لافونتاج نديرها ريموت ولا
صح. هي في الحق ميم ديرها ريموت ça ne fonctionne pas comme ça parce que كيما النرويج باغ اكزومبل لو كان يكون عندي باغ اكزومبل ستارت اب في اسبان ولا في ايرلندا نقدر نديكلاريها
استقلالها هنا.
وي دونك
صار فيهم
دونك صار اليوم.
Just to clarify something, because most of the people they think change in the country it's the solution to to have less cost.
Yes.
For example, I'm working for a company where if you have a customer for Nordics, على سبيل المثال for Nordics, you're not supposed to release the order, for example, from Estonia. Example. Or if you're sitting in Hungary, for example, in a big contract signed مع government اللي we're signing off orders the hardware ولا software من Hungary والفاينل يوزر راح يكون في النوردكس. هذه كيف فيان دو دير طاهر باللي هذه لازم ديكلاريها انت دو لا ديكلاري. لو كان ما ديكلاريش even sign off تاع اوردر باي لو كان ما ديكلاريناش دو غادي بروبليم اون نيفو لاطاكس مع البلد اللي راح يستعمل فيه الفاينل يوزر اللي راح تبعث له الانفويس.
فيري جود انبوت هذه.
واحد جوست انا ندير على لي تاكس. واحد يحب يلونسي لا ستارت اب تاعو يفوت الريجلو ديال باسكو ما تحمل
كيس اوف شور ولا غير ما كان.
You don't need to have problems with them with the tax office and those guys because it's you already have too many things to deal with. You don't want those problems extra. So
الاوفشور ما كان.
Yeah, these are things that you need to think about. So for example, you want to build something. First, you need to think about your salary, how long it's going to take, how are you going to live, and with that salary, not to live. And most importantly, what is the upfront cash that you need? You need to plan, for example, that in your first year, you need to set aside something like 25,000 NOK for the accounting side of things.
You forecast them, sir.
Not even, I wouldn't even have a forecast, just set them aside because you will need them. And for us, that was the first surprise that it was not a good surprise when suddenly you receive an invoice from an accountant. You get yourself a good accountant because if you have a bad accountant,
doctor with some feedback, some maybe adjustments in MVP وبعد growth first step of the growth. كيفاش كان اسكو كان عندك ليك وين ولا جات هكا gradually شويه بشويه.
It's when you cannot do it anymore yourself. The one thing the one advice that I like from the people at the base camp and from YC as well, from Y Combinator, is never hire until you really feel the pain of needing to hire someone to do the job. Because usually you might think, oh, you know what, I need marketing, let me hire a marketer. But the reason why we hire someone else is you have no clue how to do it. So how do you expect someone else to actually know how to do it for you?
He should be professional. Like say you don't know marketing, but marketer, it's his job from another.
That's the problem.
Okay.
It's I wouldn't say very rare, but it's usually where you have pitfalls.
Okay.
Like I would hire a VP of marketing coming from Microsoft. but the guy knows how to sell $1 billion contracts. He doesn't know how to sell $50.
I'm not paying immediately from Microsoft.
Usually there are tricks, not tricks, but there are payment schemes. Like for example, you give him or her equity.
Yeah.
Instead, because you don't have salary,
Yeah.
right? So you give them equity.
Yeah.
But usually the way it works is one of the founders, if you need to have a co-founder.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a co-founder, ideally they should not be technical. If you are technical, they should not be.
Mm.
If you're both technical, Mohamed Ismail, on a passé des mois, on argumentait à the unit test. It's not a waste of time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, who cares? It's
You would challenge each other.
yeah, but that's just not. It's nonsense in the beginning.
Yeah.
So, but if you have a business co-founder, then that person would actually challenge you from the business perspective too, and then he or she could take care of the business side of things while you would take care of the product side. But at some point, it's the founding team that needs to figure out the distribution channels. Usually, hiring is for scaling.
Mm.
Like you figure something out, but you don't have time to do it. You hire someone and you show them this is how you do it.
But it's not also related to funding. You got first funds from venture capital or from investor, and then you need to grow. And growing means more clients. Also, you need to grow your team.
Yes, usually that's how it works with those who raise tons of money.
Yeah.
It all goes into hiring. Then you would hire these big shots.
But from your side, since you are just two and
yeah, for us it's a bootstrap company, and it is still a bootstrap company. We did not want to get investors because we wanted to take the company wherever it makes sense for us and for our customers, and that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Because we did have two or three. We had one competitor, a prominent competitor, who actually crashed because of their investors. And the investors are right. Like I give you $20 million,
Mm-hmm.
and then suddenly I don't see it. I don't see any chances of me getting a fraction of it. So I would put pressure on you to pivot,
Yes.
right? Do something else, and suddenly you find yourself doing stuff that you have not planned for, or building for a product, or building and trying to fix a problem that you actually don't care about.
Mm-hmm.
Then you quit.
So it's important to have control on your startup. Again, you are a shareholder, you should have the majority, or at least you have a co-founder. Then get more investors, less control, and then if you are only 10% or 20% equity, you lose the control.
So it really depends.
Mm.
It really depends, unfortunately, because if you have that money and you have that funding, you can go much faster, right?
Mm.
If you don't have that money, and you cannot compete with those like the VC-backed companies, they have the big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, you have time. That's usually the primary difference with these two types of companies. The one with VCs, they're doing a speed run. There is millions, but they have a short lifespan. You have 2 years and you have to get that money back. If you don't, you crash. The bootstrap ones, like it takes your time.
Yeah, long
It
term.
takes 5 years, it takes 10 years, but then you have to have the guts to do the same thing with for 10 years.
لازم كوراج كبير.
If we would, apart from technical things, if we would deep dive now, other questions. For example, being CEO,
Mhm.
being the technical guy, being the business guy, being the leader as well. How do you see yourself the leader today? Company. You have people working for you, right?
Yes.
And you are working for your business, for your target,
Yes.
and you're supposed to manage to get things on your way.
Yes. So I think one thing that you should that usually helps, and it's inevitable if you want to scale, you have to go that way, is you need to learn how to delegate. That's very hard.
Yeah.
Especially when you like something and you give it to someone, they don't build it exactly how you want it. So sometimes you have to hold yourself. It's difficult, but there is no way around it. So you have to. That's actually how people learn.
Yeah.
If you are lucky, there is also luck into this, to be honest. It's not just about passion or if you find the right team, if you find the right team members, then this is going to be much easier for you.
two questions for some. Are you leading by example? اليوم Tahar, engineer الفلاني is not doing maybe, let's say, the right thing. Are you here to make him learn? Or are you here to show him the process and you push him to reach the target? What are you doing exactly?
It depends on the phase. Like if you take, if I take my engineering team, for example, today, they're all running on their own. Like sometimes I don't talk to them for 2 days because they know what to do. And
2 days is not a lot, right?
well, it is, it's especially sometimes when when you have projects that take like 3-4 days.
Okay.
Or when you have situations where there's like a burning fire somewhere.
Yeah.
There's one every day.
Yeah.
Then 2 days is a long time.
Are you babysitting sometime?
Yeah, you have to. You have to. I mean, the thing is, you need to work so that you reduce your truck factor, right? You go out, you get hit by a truck. What happens to the company? If the company dies, then you're in a bad situation. There is this. There's another book that is called The E-Myth Entrepreneur, and it talks about what I mentioned earlier. That person who is very technical, and they think, you know what? Why don't I be the boss of myself? I'm gonna quit, and I'm gonna open my company. And usually the reason why those fail is because they don't build systems that work for them. What I mean by that is when you have a team and then you have to be there for the team to be operational, you have to really succeed.
Not good sign, I think.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's also how you, I wouldn't say spot, but that's how you would categorize a team as being good, in that they are independent. But you tell them, hey, this is where we need to be. This is what we need to build. Go.
Today, the best situation is that you see today you have you as CEO, you have technical background. So you're just monitoring from specific corner in your company and see people what they are doing. And your first target is that you lead the team and you look for new business. That's it.
So it's mainly for now. I spent quite some time with the team, both on support, marketing, and product as well. My co-founder is helping as well from the product side of things. And when it comes to the team, I don't manage them the way I used to manage people in corporate. It's very different.
It brings me to the next question. Maybe a final question, but أنا نقول لك كلمة معي poser les questions قبل ما يبدأوا. لا حكينا على التيم تاعك. شحال عندك انجينيور، شحال عندك واش الرولز اللي عندك، واسكو راهم على بالي بلي موست اوف ذم ريموت، كاين اللي في الجزائر ولا بالك كامل في الجزائر. What type of contract since it's Norwegian company اسكو راهم permanent full time ولا part time ولا freelancers؟ حكينا على هذا البروسيس هذا ومن بعد نجمع اللي عندك.
Well, first we are a remote company. So we have people, like 3 years ago, we had people from Bulgaria, from Kenya, from India. So we started hiring from different areas of the world, which is good, because then we could cover customers from remote areas. Today, our support team is from the Philippines, and we did that on purpose because the majority of our customers are from APAC. From Australia, New Zealand, Singapore. So you need
same region, yeah.
Exactly, yes. And then myself and my co-founder and the other half of the support team deal with the European. Actually, the Filipino support team is helping us with the European customers as well, but they do help with. Sometimes they do help with the US and the Americas customers too. So it's remote. Everyone is working from the comfort of their homes, but the remote is not that simple. I think we need another step.
Contract ولا freelancers?
Then for remote, you have two ways to hire remote employees. The first one, the obvious one, is you would hire them as employees. In order for you to do that, for example, you have people in India, and you would hire them as employees in India. You have to have an office there. You have to have a legal presence there. And what I mean by employees, you would pay their like social security,
special contract.
yeah, exactly, yes, all of those things that you would add on top of the salary, you would need to pay them. The problem with this is it requires a lot of back office work.
Much more money, maybe.
Absolutely, yes, because you need an office, you need someone to represent.
So the easy way is freelancer.
Then the other way is called, there are actually three ways. Then you have a second category that is called employee of record. An employee of record is someone like Deal, Remote Pass. There are a few that are quite famous who do these things. If you take Deal, for example, they are a company, they even exist here in Norway. So imagine you're in the US and you employ someone from Norway. You don't want to open an office here because it just costs you and it's a lot of work. So what you do is you would call Deal and you would hire someone in Norway and Deal will actually hire them. You see, that's called employer of record. Employer, because Deal is the employer, but it's just in the records. In reality, they actually work for you from Norway to the US. And the third one is the contractor. That's the simplest. With contractor, and actually people are used, since COVID, people are used to this mode of working. Even countries like Algeria, for example, which is quite an interesting thing. They have this new regime where that actually suits contractors really.
As freelancer, yeah,
absolutely, yeah, much better than most.
Company
and no issues with as Norwegian entity to have those kind of contracts. It's legal and no action. Yeah.
Because it's a service.
Perfect.
At the end of the day, when you pay them, the way it actually works, for example, we use a Remote Pass, and so they all create accounts in Remote Pass, and each month I receive an invoice from Remote Pass. So let's say you receive an invoice for, let's say, $40,000, and then you pay the invoice, and then Remote Pass will distribute that to everyone, and they take a small commission. That's how it works.
يعطيك الصحة طاهر. نبدأ بجماعة هنا اللي عنده دي كيستيون.
الشارجور.
هنا ولا الجماعة
نبداو باللي بريزونس.
يريزيو يديهم تكون عندهم كيستيون.
شكون اللي ياخذ يدو الأول؟
محمود عنده دمرة تاع الكيستيون. بصباحه يكتب محمود.
نبدأ بالسؤال الأول تاعي. And since you open up to many employees remote from all around the world, you have to get some transparency and they have to see the secret of the company. My question, how do you protect your IP? Because I mean, the work that you have done and all the information that you gather, they can take it for free and they have the for themselves. How to protect your IP?
Absolutely. That's actually a subject we bring up every now and then. What I would say, if you take our source code, you can get out of it with one. Okay. Yeah. When you can be as protected as you want. Not sure if you have seen the story of that guy who stole IP from, I think it was Facebook, and he took it to OpenAI because they sued him for billions or something. So there are ways you could protect your IP. For example, what you can do is you can own the hardware that your employees are working with, but even with that, there is a risk. There's a lot of stories from the COVID time where people abused this. So, for example, I would call you from, I wouldn't give a country, otherwise you might think that country is bad. Let's say I'm working from a given country. Then you would hire me, and I would pass all the interviews. I'm very good, I'm technical, I pass the interviews, you hire me, you send me a MacBook Pro, $3,000, I get it, boom, disappear. What can you do? So this is all risk, because if you want to have 100% control, that's the only way. And even then, I mean, you have to pretty much block and take out the USB ports, right? Otherwise, nothing is going to stop them from copying the source code. And I think that's the Facebook guy. That's I think what he did. Just copied everything to a USB stick and he left. So the risk is always there. And in the early days, that's not something you should think about, to be honest, because you just have so many other problems that you need to deal with before you can even reach that point. And you take Odoo, for example, it's open source. And you go to these groups on Facebook, and especially from a certain country, which I won't say, they tell you, hey, full ERP, $50 plus source code. You're like, really? And when you buy it, it's actually Odoo. So they just download the whole GitHub repository and they package it for you in a zip file, $50, and they give you an ERP. So, and if someone really wants to steal from you, they will. So it's hard.
You can be hard.
There are ways maybe you could control this by having a clause in your contract. We do have a clause in the contract that any IP it belongs to Qoblex. But again, if someone steals something from you, what can you do? So at some point you just have to bite the bullet and go.
Take the risk.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, Tahar. Just a question regarding, because we really put emphasis on a lot of negative things about creating a company in Norway. So my question, is there anything positive compared to other countries? And the second thing, was maybe it's personal decision or something, but what was your motivation to stay in Norway and not create your company another less complicated country?
Yes. First of all, I'm sorry if it came across as very negative. It's a very negative experience. I think it's very important that someone knows the reality. So you need to know what you're going against, right? So do I regret ever doing this? Absolutely not. If I had to do it, I would do it. It's very hard. It's difficult, but like I remember the first 3 years that I spent in Stockholm. What I learned in 3 years is much more than what I learned in 17 years in corporate. Because you deal with a lot of things that you don't see in corporate. Like as a software engineer, I never dealt with sales. I never dealt with marketing. I don't know how to sell software, right? Then suddenly, if this is something that interests you, then you will find yourself in these situations where you have to actually sell it and you have to market it yourself. You have to talk to customers.
And learning by doing. That's the
exactly, yes. So you learn by doing, and it's an enjoyable experience. It's hard, but it's an enjoyable experience if you like it, right? Only if you like it. Now, are there any positive experiences in Norway? Well, Norway, to be honest, it's
a negative experience.
It's the best place you can be in the world, I think. In terms of le niveau de vie comparé aux autres. Exactly, yes. So, I spent a little bit of time in France, in the US. Norway is by far the best. But it's different. It's different with taxes and with and again the taxes again, when you pay for them in a company, it's not that different from other countries, unless you compare it to something like Ireland or Luxembourg, and it's these are very low. So
or Dubai, or
if you get the chance, Switzerland, not that much. It's mainly Ireland and Luxembourg. So if you get the chance to get the hell out, go there.
But as you said, you need to declare it here in Norway anyways. So it's
not if you are a tax resident, if you are a citizen, then you have to declare it. But not if you're like Algerian and you need to start something and you don't think this is the right place.
You move
before you start it. Then you're safe. The reason why I stayed here, I think, I remember the first 3 years, I was planning like 3 years and I'm going to go. 25 years, you're still there.
25.
That's typical. Anis?
Just to continue on the point about Norway, you have the safety net of love, for instance, that you might not have in other countries. That you can get financial support even if you're not, in that situation you were describing.
Yes.
Yeah. But just to add on that point, but my question, I have a few, but there was a point you were telling about the pivotal moment in your story where you had this 6 months and you had to decide whether to chase funding or work on the product. And you didn't say, what did you do at that period?
We went for the product.
Okay.
We went for the product.
Is that something you'd recommend if you get into a situation like that?
As always, the answer that doesn't really help. It depends. That's the thing. You want to go fast, go for funding.
Yeah.
with a lot of money, you can hire. But then again, if you hire, the worst thing you can do to a sinking boat is to add people into it.
Yes.
So you can think faster. But maybe that's what you're looking for. to have, to really feel that this thing is not gonna work, because the other side of the spectrum is you're going to beat around the bush for 20 years and you're still not out of it.
Yeah.
So
And make it look like it.
And another one, did you do a proper market analysis? Did you have numbers to? No, you went for the instinct.
yeah. You know what? This story, what they asked Elon Musk, and the guy is very strange, but he says that he would never hire MBAs, right?
Yeah.
But then again, I think I think it depends on what you're going against, because we all do market research in one way or the other. We don't do it as if we were working for KPMG or for McKinsey. That's a completely different way of doing market research. For a startup, I think you have to do it in your own way.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be fast. It has to be cheap. Ideally, it should cost you zero. That's the difficult part, I think. And this is where the innovative part really comes in, right? Because it's not as simple as you just hire someone to go and do research for you. And this comes from communities. It comes from projects. Like, for example, if you're in research, you would see a research trend. You would see some difficult problems to solve, and you feel the applications are many, and then you would jump ship and you go and do them.
Yeah, you find the niche essentially, then try to.
Two very quick ones. The last one is this yes and no. Do you have investors today? And who is your biggest competitor?
Right, investors? No, we don't.
Okay.
So it's all bootstrapped. We did invest ourselves into the company, but it's all bootstrapped and is self-funded. Do we plan to get in investors? Why not? I think we should always keep the door open.
Mm-hmm.
We're not stubborn when it comes to getting investors or not. You just need to prepare to give away some of your equity.
Yeah.
وجد المليون تاع الاشياء باش
I have a couple of questions.
بالك ناخذ تاع اونلاين ومن بعد نوليو معليش باش نديروا شويه
يا روح.
شكون اللي راه فاعل انتم عرفتوا
Yes.
الياس
السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, first, thank you, Tahar, to your very passionate story. And reflecting in your story, I have really small similarities. I mean, I share Borawi with you. I come from Ouhrouche, so I know the place. I did the École Polytechnique in Ouhrouche, and I worked for Schlumberger.
My colleague Anthony does Polytech.
Polytech. I'm sorry, so it's easier. And the other similarity is Schlumberger. So I'm still in Schlumberger, and the third one is Norway. I lived in Norway as well. So, and I completely agree with your comment on Norway is the best place to be. I mean, in terms of lifestyle. So, but it looks like in terms of entrepreneurship there's some challenges, and I reflect on this in Europe in general. I think it's to be entrepreneur, it's very challenging. So for me, as I work for now for DrillOps, maybe you know the platform. DrillOps, yes. And for me, it's very fascinating. I mean, the way you step up, and I know Mohammed as well, so I had the chance to talk to him. So I really appreciate and I really respect your really courage to step out of the corporate world and to start this adventure, and congratulate you for the job you did. But for me, the question is why you didn't continue on the expertise that you had. I mean, not in terms of software, I know that, but in the domain of oil and gas and all this energy sector, since you worked there for 17 years and you had maybe a network, this can help you at the beginning. And you went to a completely different sector.
Yes.
But still, I mean, we are the same. I mean, I'm software as well, so you kept doing software, but for something else. I would like to know how you add like more complexity, going out of your comfort zone twice. I would say.
Yes. So two elements of the answer. One is if I take software in oil and gas. If I take Schlumberger, for example, I was working in Petrel, and I spent quite a long time there, and I don't have the necessary background to come up with like a novel idea to build something that would, let's say, compete or would complete Petrel. But because at some point you have to know what you can sell, right? I know that I cannot build such a thing because it's not I'm not a geologist, I'm not a geophysicist, I'm not a petroleum engineer, I'm a software engineer. So I know that I cannot get into that area. That's number one. But number two, which is important, if you get into oil and gas, you would be selling to corporate.
Yes, CapEx.
That's extremely hard without funding.
Yeah. Funding, yeah.
You have to have founders to back you up because let's say I build something and there's oil and gas corporate X who is willing to use my software, right? The only way for me to get them to use that software is to even buy a license, let's say, is you need to have salespeople, right? And usually, you know that they asked Paul Graham, they asked him and they said, should I build something for corporate or should I build something for other markets? And he said, the big risk that you run by selling software to corporate, you're going to die waiting for them to sign. Because in corporate, like for example, where the market I'm in at the moment, I jump into a sales call with the customer. In 30 minutes, they tell me yes or no. In corporate, it can take up to 3 years. And those 3 years, you need money to live, right? To survive. If you have employees, then that gets even harder. Yes. So if you have funding, if you have a good idea, and you want to sell to the big parts, go for it. Because the other difference, which is big, is in corporate, when you sign for 6-7 digits. Right? You don't sign someone up for $150 much. Yeah. So that's why you cannot really compare them, I would say. Now, if you have the skills, leverage, network to sell something to corporate, go for it. But just I think to be it's different.
I think I agree with your response. I probably it could be one of the few opportunities you can have is spotting a niche that you can add value there, and still it's gonna be challenging, as you said. Maybe the other part is to be mainly consultancy in this case. Basically, you know the needs of the clients, which is the only thing that you can leverage at this case. When you have like the client's needs and you have a network, doing some consultancy as a company, in this case, your own business, could be one of the. But yeah, and I completely understand your approach.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elias. Well, before that, Elias, عندنا كونتاكت تاعك في الجروب؟ راك معنا في الواتساب جروب؟ لا.
أنا شغل bon. Tahar, je le connais à travers LinkedIn, mais c'est la première fois نهضر معاه en personne. Je suis vraiment ravi de vous connaître.
Donc لقيته في البوست تاعو تاع LinkedIn.
Exactement, في البوست تاعو إنه قلت له j'aime bien. J'ai eu l'occasion de travailler à Stavanger, pas à Oslo, mais Stavanger pendant 2 ans et demi. Donc j'ai pas atteint 3 ans pour باش نبقى كيما Tahar, mais
إذا كان هنا في النرويج مرحبا بك معنا في
نجي إن شاء الله في بالك في نوفمبر. Honnêtement, je me considère même d'y retourner parce que j'aime beaucoup le pays. Donc وليت جيت على هيوستن ودوك راني في كلامار في فرنسا. Et franchement, la Norvège, bon, c'est autre chose, c'est personnel. Hein. J'aime beaucoup la nature norvégienne, donc j'aime beaucoup le pays comme écosystème et lifestyle, je dirais. Mais ouais, avec plaisir. Ouais. Si je passerai à Skard dans notre à Oslo, ouais, je serais vraiment ravi de t'accueillir, Inch'Allah.
Inch'Allah. next كان يونس.
واي يونس.
تفضل يونس. أنا شو نسمع فيك؟
سمعناك أبان برك، سمعت غير أنا.
وين سمعت؟
سمعت ويا أبان الصوت تاعو طلع شوية ما نش نسمعوك مليح.
سيرين دي فراس كي سربت بزاف في موت. Can you see me?
زيد هكذا صافا.
يعطيك الصحة طاهر، يعطيك الصحة ياسين على هذه بودكاست. عندي كيستيون شوية بيرسونال ليك طاهر، واللي هي في البيريود تاعك كما بديت تخدم قبل ما تلقى لي كليون تاعك، كانت عندك شوية ستريس. وشنو هي لي زاكتيفيتي اللي كنت ديرهم باش تنحي هذه ستريس؟ انا هذه هي كيستيون.
اوكي اكتيفيتي.
والو ما عندكش الوقت.
ما كاينش الوقت والله. سيرتو يعني شافي خطره ان محمد انا باسي اون نوي بلانش شكون افي ان بوغ. انا باسي اون نوي بلانش ونحن نخربش
كودي.
وحنا مرتو جات عند مرتي وحنا رحنا للدارو ملي سي ساندويتش. encore une fois على هذيك شغل سي ميو ديتر كونو في جوج
تعاونوا مع مراد
هذيك
فيزيكال سبورت.
وثاني واحد باغ اكزومبل قادر يدير سبور ما سبور تجري واحد 30 مينوت هكا شاك دو جو 3 جو ثاني صايب ما انا جو فاجر يعني
كم ماراثون كيما محفوظ تجري ماراثون. نحس استيعاب
بالك انت اللي طار ان شاء الله
يونس.
تاع فوالا. بدات انت يونس تعطينا tips and tricks maybe in the future ان شاء الله how to deal يعني with difficult situation. طاهر ستارت اب تاعو كل واحد في الخدمه تاعهم they might have difficult days ولا maybe we can ان شاء الله.
ان شاء الله.
كاين نقدر بوزا
الكيستيون يعني كيف ندير لهم؟
بعد احنا
ناقص ياسين فوت نصاي. When starting a SaaS, it's better. Is it better to make the product perfect or launch fast to get users? And how do you know it's the right time to launch?
You know, it's actually a great question. There is one thing that again you really need to watch these YC videos. They really have and contain a lot of golden gems. But there was a guy asking like, when do I launch? And the answer was, if you're asking me, then it's too late. You should have already launched a long time ago. It's not that simple. It's very difficult. But my take, and that's what we do today in Qoblex, is sometimes we take a feature that's going to take 6 weeks. It's going to take 12 weeks. 3 weeks into it, we have something that kind of works and walks on one leg. We deploy it. Deploy it, but protect it. We protect it with feature flags. We protect with ways where we open it just 1 to 10 customers. You really have to go with a low number of customers. You know, one thing that I miss, and one thing that is really a luxury, is during the first days, like you can deploy 5-10 times a day, no problem. Some things like even the deployment, I just right click from my machine and publish using FTP. But that's how you would deploy, right? There's no faster deploy strategy than just publish via FTP. But once you reach a certain size, like right now, there is always, at the moment I haven't counted them, but we have thousands of users using the system from all over the world, Australia, New Zealand, the US. So, like if we want to deploy something, the only time not to deploy, but we want to make a critical change, the only window we have is around Saturday morning, because that's the only 2-3 hours where everyone is asleep, either from New Zealand or from the US. Any other time you deploy, boom, you get a ticket. But yeah, service unavailable. Why is that? And then you get into these situations where you get and you tend to be more careful, but then you go slow. Now there are techniques to go around this. Probably another session to discuss these things. But it's a good question. I would not wait until it's perfect, because if you wait, you might actually waste a lot of
And
money.
it will never be perfect anyways.
And the thing is, you would actually you should never build something that is perfect. You know, the opposite of good is not bad, it's perfect. Because when you try to build something perfect, you would never reach that, and that means you would never be able to move it on. But there was one feature that we deployed this year, and it costs us, like, we have been working on it for 2 months. And we had some customers and they wanted to try it, and we told them, yeah, it's still work in progress. So we built it so that you had to build the full thing so we can deploy it. The day we deployed it, they all disappeared.
Yeah.
Even those who have been early adopters, we deployed it and we told them, yeah, it's $49 a month. They're like, nah, just go use Excel. So, and then it was kind of a punch in the gut, I would say, because it's waste. So now the way we build features is we actually flip them. So instead of building instead of building the full workflow piece by piece, and it's going to take 6 months, we take extra time and extra energy to actually analyze the problem and see if we can find a way to build something that is, I would say, I call it like you're flipping the architecture, but not necessarily flipping it. But the idea is, can you build something that you can validate, say, in 6 weeks? And not just validate, something that actually brings value to the customer in 6 weeks. That's all. And then you build on top of that. But I would never, and I think it's a mistake to really target something that is perfect, and then you deploy. But then again, it depends on the industries. Let's say you're deploying something to hospitals. Right? In a startup, for example, the way in where we work, sometimes there are some regulated industries, and for us, we don't work with those industries, right? So when I deploy something, and there is, let's say, I don't activate two-factor authentication, that's actually okay. But if you deploy something to hospitals, let's say, and you forget, just using a silly example here, let's say you forget to encrypt the data in transit. My friend, you can go to jail for this, right? So these are the things that you need to think about. And then you need to see what actually means, what does actually perfect mean to you. But I wouldn't wait for something to be perfect. Otherwise,
There's also something called good enough.
is that exactly, yes.
Good enough, and they mentioned something. Put it or implement it, then control it and protect your product in a consistent way. Right? Yeah. Nassim. إليك خط.
جبريت زعما نقدر Algerian. So I have a couple of questions, but I'm gonna keep it short. So the first thing is, okay, I don't understand what the product is actually. So is it in a inventory, a stock management product that is basically just downscaled from Odoo, or something else? And the thing is, the other thing is what is the technology stack that you use to develop this?
Good question, yes. So
Yeah,
you want me to answer this? And
yeah, answer these two, and then I'll get the other. Yes.
So let's start with the stock part. When we built, and if I come back to innovation Norway, if you go to the menu, then I'm building an inventory management app. It's like, yeah, get the hell out. Because I mean, Excel is I can do it in Notepad, right? Yeah. But I'm coming from oil and gas, and I can tell you inventory management is really complex. It's very complex because when you get into it, it's not just putting 1 or +1 into a box. There are processes, there are things that actually go behind the scenes that you don't see. And if you see giants like Shopify, it actually makes sense why they didn't build this, because it's not that simple. So, but that's where we started, because when we started working with these businesses from Shopify, their top problem was inventory management. That's actually where the name Stock and Buy comes from. And then Mohammed, Stock and Buy. But then we realized, after we fixed, and we're still having challenges with that inventory part, it's really hard. Now that we solved that, we realized that customers are not just worried about inventory management, they actually need order management, they need purchasing, they need value, like the inventory valuations, asset valuations, asset control. They need all of these things. And suddenly we realize that it's not just the only thing that we need. So we're investing in other parts. That's actually why we changed the name. Because stock and buy usually comes across as an inventory management software, but in the end, it's one module of the system. Now, to come back to what it does, I mentioned earlier that it does not compete with ERPs like Odoo. You take Odoo, it does everything. It does accounting, it does payroll, but that's not the only model that exists out there. If you look at the, let's say you are an e-commerce business, you can go with Odoo. You can launch your online website. You can do accounting, payroll, etc. with just Odoo. But with all due respect to Odoo and SAP, especially Odoo and SAP, SAP is a big beast. It feels like a Swiss Army knife.
I hate Odoo. I agree.
It does everything.
Yeah, but nothing.
It's, I would say mediocre, but it's kind of average. And then you find the other way of doing things where why not get an accounting software, but you get the lightweight accounting software, something like Xero, something like QuickBooks. Then for your online store, instead of going with Odoo, which is very, very limited, you go with something like Shopify. And no one would compete with Shopify. They're the best in market. But then the problem is now if you go with this fragmented approach with all of these tools that solve some pieces of the problem, how do you get them all together? And this is where we come in.
Okay.
So that's pretty much what we play.
Okay.
For your second question, when it comes to the tech stack, the reason why this is a very good question is because you always get these questions like, oh, I have an idea and I need to build software. Which language should I learn? And my advice is build it with whatever you master. So I'm coming from corporate, and in corporate, it's usually .NET, C#, .NET, Windows, all of the Windows technologies and ecosystem. That's what I know best. I've never, for example, done TypeScript and
JavaScript,
a little bit, but PHP, for example, I've never done PHP. So why would I go and learn a language? Because that's not really the problem, right? And this is one of the difficulties, actually, if you're technical. That's what I mentioned earlier. If you are two, you need a business person. Because if you're technical, you will find yourself
arguing about the language.
Yeah, it's like, do we go with PHP? And you get into these religious wars, PHP or C#. It's like, who cares? Right? You're not really solving the problem.
Yes.
So just pick a technology that you master and you run with it.
Yeah, but what is your technology?
So for us, it's all C#.
Okay.
It's all C#. It's all on Azure.
Okay.
We have, last time I counted, I think we have something like 1.6 million lines of code or something.
Wow.
Including C#, JavaScript. In terms of the architecture, it's not a pure microservice architecture, which I personally hate. I think it's a big.
I agree. Yeah.
It's a mix between a monolith and a microservice architecture.
Okay, and obviously you're in a DevOps kind of way doing things.
Yes.
So you have a continuous integration and a versioning system.
Yes.
Okay. Every developer has to go through this that you have.
Depends on which stage of the startup you are in.
Yeah.
If you are like in the first months, don't bother.
Exactly.
Just deploy it on your machine because it's only you. But then like what I mentioned earlier, we don't have that luxury of breaking production anymore. There used to be a time where it's like, we don't like something in production, wipe the database and create a new one from scratch.
Yeah.
Because you have 1-2 customers and they have 2-3 products, it's easy to recreate them. We're no longer in that situation. Now the system goes down, and I'm not kidding. It's remember the Houthis attack on Microsoft's fiber optics? That day, like I woke up in the morning and we had like 10 tickets that I cannot access. And when you get the ticket, I cannot access. I know, check your router, clear your cache, refresh the page. We got a ticket from South Africa, and then we got another one from South Africa, and then we got another one from Nigeria, I think. Then it's like, oh, this is not good. If someone two countries tell you that I cannot access something, then you have a problem. So you're no longer in that situation, which means you need to know, for example, what is it that is running currently in production? And you should be able to trace what is running in production to the exact commit from your code base.
Yeah.
Because it's not only you, right? You have multiple developers, and this is where I don't regret the corporate experience, because there is a lot that you can learn from corporate you can apply to this.
Yeah.
But you have to build, you still have to build something that is lightweight. You should not overcomplicate things, because your primary target and your primary goal is to deploy software to solve a problem so that your customers can use it. Your primary target is not to have 100% coverage. No one cares. And your primary target is not to have, lightweight microservices architecture that can scale. That's not really the primary target.
So this is the last one, okay? I'm speculating, but since you mentioned that the inventory problem is a complex problem,
Yes.
Is this a scenario that you encounter where you have to schedule, I don't know, shipments? You have a certain amount of resources that you do not exist. Essentially, a scheduling problem that you need to solve. If this is the case, how do you solve it?
It's not that. I think I guess what you're alluding to is what those هذوك les problèmes اللي كنا نديرهم في recherche opérationnelle. The problem of lancement. We're not there yet.
Okay.
We're not. It's really, really simple problems.
Okay.
And some of them are technical problems in a sense. Some others, like I'll give you a very, very simple example. Imagine you have one unit in stock, and you both come online at the exact same millisecond. Who's going to
mutual exclusion?
Yeah. And if you take it, what do I tell him? And if you have some sort of the first version of the software that we built, you remember Mutex?
Yes.
Like critical section.
Yeah. You lock and you unlock.
Yeah. Basically, you tell the operating system this piece of code, there must only be one thread accessing it at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what we had, the first version of the software. And I remember we had like 10 customers. The whole thing went down because 10 and that critical section can only serve one customer at a time. It crashed.
But why not bid? Why not have a bidding system if two people come to the same item?
That's exactly why it's not a simple problem.
Yeah, but essentially you would do what eBay does.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So there are solutions, but that was my point actually. That it's not a simple problem, because usually when you think about it, inventory, and again, this is why it's hard to approach investors again, right? Because inventory management is understood as
simple.
I have 10 units in stock and you have 0 units in
minus
stock and you're out of stock. Minus 1 plus 1, that's it. But it's not that simple. So, and then just one last point, and then you add the user experience on top of it, because remember, the end user of the software is not an Odoo expert or an SAP expert. It's just the
human machine interaction needs to be as simple as possible.
Exactly.
Okay.
Donc, حكينا على innovation Norway.
معلش نستنى.
اوكي. دونك حكينا على innovation Norway. j'aimerais savoir الرأي تاعك على ستارت اب لاب. اسكو خدمت فيه او اسكو تزمان بون pour le software c'est le ستارت اب لاب mais اسكو الحاجة اللي قلتها اسكو تروح من ستارت اب لاب في Norway. Après les deux autres questions c'est après le participation تاعك اسكو خدمت direct goodbye. ولا خليت تاع كونجيسيون sur le paiement كنت unpaid holidays. Les deux autres questions c'est est-ce que tu peux être avec, est-ce que tu as des trucs quand même. Et la dernière c'est pas c'est واش تصرا اللي كان موضوع شركتك صراحه عندها بديل اليوم الفرنسي صراحه السيارات
ايوه
اوكي هذا هو صراحه الداتا بريتش كلها
صح. Bon, je vais essayer de me rappeler avec les Bon, la première, Innovation Norway. So we try to approach them.
Start lab.
Innovation Norway and then Startup Lab, right?
انا قلت حكينا على Innovation Norway Startup Lab ما حكيناش عليها واش
d'accord. ستارت اب لاب مليحه اون بليس سابليك ميم سوفتوير. عندي واحد نعرفو في شنو بيرجي، كاين واحد في لاسوسياسيون خدم عند كوشلي، شكون هو؟
سامي
الباترون تاع كوشلي نعرفو، كنا نخدمو مع بعض واش نجيكو في شنو بيرجي. ستارت اب مليحه علاه باسكو سي كيما اتس ان انكيبيتور. كي تروح تماك كاين دوطا فونداتور تتعلم منهم، دونك الانتراكسيون هذوك وكلش تتعلم منهم. وثانيك كاينين سيرتان دو سي فونداتور لا هما يوليو لي كليون تاعك. سي كيما الموديل تاع واي كومبينيتور. شوف باغ اكزومبل واي كومبينيتور علاش لا بليبار ريوسيست، ماشي لا بليبار ريوسيست، بس علاش كاع يريزيو دي فاندز كي يروحوا تماك؟ باسكو واي سي عندهم نتورك تالمون كبير كو نتايا عندك اون ايدي. هما ديجا تماك في واي سي لي انفستيسور هذوك ils vont essayer de faire en sorte que les autres startups يكونوا لي كليون تاعك. شايف دونك تولي بيناتهم. دونك ستارت اب ملاح
ما جست عليها انكوبيتور ما جست عليها
ما تجيش عليهم. à un moment donné j'ai pensé ستارت اب لاب عندهم تقدر تجيب ان سيد راوند دو 3 مليون دو نوك وقيله ولا انتو كوم سا بور ميت بورسون جي با ترو شاشي بصح I think they have something around this.
وعلى بالي كان ثاني حاجه اللي بارتيزون باسكو زعما دو فوا عندهم باغ اكزومبل السي اي او ولا الديريكتور كبار.
ايوا
باغ اكزومبل لو طون اللي ما بين يحوسوا ما بين الخدمه والخدمه اللي باغ اكزومبل هذيك نوتيس بيريود تاع 3 ولا 6 موا يجوا يجيو لي ستارت اب لاين من يديروا فيه تما ومن بعد ستارت اب يجيو تري فاسيلون.
ايوا
يعني
اكزاكت. دونك واحد اللي عنده ان اوبورتونيتي يروح باغ اكزومبل ستارت اب لاب واي نوت. بصح يقصد دير بلي يجيف واي سم ايكويتي.
نزلوا شويه باسكو ما قعدناش بزاف الوقت. نكست قال بابا باميشون اسكو كملت خرجت ديريكت من الرول تاعك ولا درت ان بايد ليف قبل ما
لا وليت ديريكتومون كملت. كي كملت باسكو اون سي دي كو مدروحك عام سا فونكسيون اللهم بارك يو تيك اوف سا فونكسيون با اي ما قلنا والو. دونك دو كو كي كمل العام هذاك سا فونكسيوني با باسكو انكور اون فوا سي با افيك.
رجعت للرول تاعك.
رجعت وانا بيرسونيلمون كي كنت تري بيان في لابار فيش كنبرج والله سيتي كبير اون بليس سيرتو لا كولتور باسكو خدمت عند دوطر كومباني بصح لا كولتور تاع شنو بيرجي وحدها.
دانيير حكيت لها
بالبريدج.
الوغ كتابات
حكى ديجا شويه عليهم في
خلاص.
سيرتو هذيك تاع ايميث انتربرونور قراه هذاك مليح. هذاك راه عندي اون كوبي في الدار طون جون طون نعاود فيريفير un petit peu les idées مليح فرانشمون عندي دي تري بون
وجوبز تو بي دان.
jobs to be done. If you're a product person, you need to read jobs to be done. You need to build product, understand product. And the last one, data breach. That's if you're going to corporate, that's the first thing you need to think about. Even in small companies, you have to think about too. But there is one thing that is very important. You need to know yourself, right? If you are big, if you are a bank, then you know someone is going to attack you. But if you're a small company in a remote country in the world, no one knows about you, right? Who's going to attack you? We still get attacks. We got a DDoS. That's actually a good sign when you get attacks. Like
You're growing.
Yes. But I can say something off record as to what it happens. I have an idea. So I have been active in certain things, and some people didn't like it, and we got targeted. But these things, that's also what I like in corporate, is when you are in corporate, these are the first things you need to think about. When you're working in corporate, because the press is looking at you, like if you're working for Google, Microsoft, I mean, the press is always watching at you, right? Watching that for that data breach so they can sue you. So you need to think about all of these things up front. Protecting databases, firewalls, encryption. So you need to put all of these protections in place. For Stock and Buy, we put them since day one because it's very, very important to protect customer data. And the way you would put them there in day one is you either do it yourself or you pay someone to do it. If you go, for example, with, and we are lucky that the company kind of grew at the point where cloud was like a commodity, right? So now everyone can go to Azure and to AWS and to Google, provision a machine. It's all protected. it all comes with a default configuration that is built by Microsoft, by Google, by Amazon, and it's protected by default. You just go with that. And then you have the other mode is like, I'm going to build it myself, like fire off, a server at home. And if you are that kind of person, then you need to know what you're doing, because again, what is it that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, but I think there's no for people that want to have SaaS platforms in Algeria. I think there's no choice. You have two choices: Algeria Telecom, where you lose customers while they use your SaaS,
Yes.
or you build it yourself.
Maybe I have visited one data center in Algiers, and I think things are changing. Things are changing in a good way. It's true that we don't have a true, or we did not have a true cloud provider, but things are changing. And if you see that these things are missing, you need to plan for them.
بديس
يسمح لنا انت
Yes.
يعطيك الصحة صار بيزنس انسبايرين اصلا تجي من واحد يمكن تسمع من ولد بلادنا صار مش كيما نسمع من واحد انتربرونور خارج صافي يعرف نقدروا نشوفوا رواحنا فيك يعني حاب نسقسيك شوية عليك انت يعني بيان سور كان بزاف دي ساكريفيس بيسك لو طون مع العائلة مع حاب نشوف لا بيرسوناليتي تاعك كيفاش تبدلت وكيفاش how did you handle all the turmoils تسمى الحوايج اللي unpredictable uncertainty وش هما personality traits that keeps you going because it's not for everyone that can keep up with all the things that are changing, and dealing just with uncertainty is a big factor because we like comfort, we like to.
Yes.
So if you tell a little bit about sacrifices and then maybe what it takes to as a personality characteristics to push through,
Yes.
maybe also put it through the phases, like for example, because I missed a little bit the time, like a timeline.
Yes.
For example, you started in 2010, and maybe let's say the first phase it was dealing with the money, getting the money, or focus on the project, and slowly, how was your journey? Please link the time. So, for example, after 2 years, after 6 months, after, and that's where did you achieve? Maybe shortly, like a little bit of comfort to say that now I can go home and I can have a normal week.
Yes. That's a good question. I think what helped me with still being in the company and still running it is I am passionate about solving a problem, and that problem is helping small entrepreneurs. You know, when you look at the economy, 80% of it is driven by these small shops that you see around the corner, and it amazes me to help when I see people like this, and when I see like small entrepreneurs who get into e-commerce or even commerce, and they don't have the tools. They don't have the tools that the big corporates have. We give them these capabilities with a small software, which is very, very lightweight. So I just love it, especially sometimes we have these Friday evening talks with some of the customers, and when they tell you what they've achieved with the software, then it's really pleasing. Like you have contributed to society with something. Like if we come back to Algeria now, what this is actually what we're trying to do now is, now that we have this deployed or worldwide pretty much, we want to deploy it in Algeria as well. Because when you are a merchant in Algeria, you sell your goods the usual way, like counter selling or maybe on Facebook, then you're missing a lot of opportunity online. So it's good for the merchant, and it's good for the society as well. One of the big differences between Europe and Algeria is the service part, if you like. Like here, you need something, you go online, click, 2 days, you have it at your doorstep. In Algeria back then, you need something, you don't click. You have to go 600 kilometers, and then you don't know whether you can find it or not. You see, so and these are all simplifying the lives of people that we would like to help solve, and this is really what is driving us. Now, when it comes to the personal characteristics or threats, I think again I will always come back to this having a co-founder, because Personally, I think I find it very, very, very hard to keep up. You don't have someone who can actually push you, and sometimes they push you, sometimes you push them. And when you have a team, it's much easier. But you have other challenges that come in.
And timeline خليك 2010
Yeah.
حطينا how much
milestones 2010.
Yeah, so 2010, it was just an idea. We had the prototype, and now Mohammed, every now and then he shares some screenshots. And Yazid, my co-founder as well. Every now and then we look at the screenshots we had back in 2010. You laugh out loud because wow, we were so naive.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I put it. Like the beginnings, you only look at the product. You think that it's just software. You build software. You watch all of these startup movies and stuff. You build it with black screen, the green text, and you deploy it, and you're going to make millions. And then 2 years later, you find yourself that it's actually not true. That's not how it works.
You lose millions.
Yeah, it's not how it works. And then, and again, the question mark that always comes back is, when do you stop? When do you know whether you should stop or you should continue?
But there are years that you can stamp the 2010, 2013, 2013.
It's hard to be honest.
Yeah.
So it was 2010 when we started the original prototype with Mohammed, and then we did many trials and errors. We stopped multiple times because we did not really know whether this is going to launch, whether we can launch it in Algeria, whether something is going to change in the market, so that the conditions would change that would allow us to deploy the software into the market. So this was another thing. Then do we deploy it internationally? All of these questions between 2010 and 2017. So it took 7 years. And those 7 years, the thing is, we were actually still building on it, like randomly here and there, right?
It's also over time, because those 7 years, how were you because you have a family, right? So
yes,
it's working in weekends. I want to see live.
Weekends.
Yes.
Weekends.
So you were still employed
Yeah.
until 2017. Which year you quit?
But before we get there, I personally never planned it to be a company. Because when you see it, especially the prototype, and it's not really working, we tried with Algeria, it didn't work. And we also tried to turn this into more like a social project with having engineers from Algeria, from INI, and then help them share some technology tips with them, etc. It didn't work. And so for me, and I was playing with it more I was using it more like a playground, if you like. Especially back then in Schlumberger, I went into management. And in management, you don't get to code. But the problem is I like to code. So I needed something that I can
play with.
Like, for example, you take Kubernetes, right? There are two ways to learn Kubernetes. One is to read books. The second one is get your hands dirty, deploy it in your local machine and play with it. Second way is much better and much interesting. So that's actually what happened during those years. So, and then I got married, I got kids. It's more difficult. But then you always have this question, I should have started this when I was single. Life is not
Then you get
simple.
divorced, then start, and then you get remarried.
The thing is, all of that knowledge you got through those 20 years, 15, 17 years in corporate, they actually help you get somewhere. It's not like you say, oh, I wish I started this in 2000. No, that's not how it works. It's not that simple, right? So that all of that knowledge, all of that experience, all of that learning is going to help you to get somewhere. Then, so 2017, 2018, that's when we decided to put it on hold. So because that's when it really didn't work. Again, we come back to the MVP. But when you realize that this MVP thing is not that simple, and actually you wonder whether that it even makes sense. So 2018, that's when we stopped it. And again, we stop it, we relaunch it. We stop it, we relaunch it. And then from 2020, that's when it started taking off again. And that's when we got the choice as well to either go with an investor or go with just self-funded. That's when Yazid, my childhood friend, joined as well. We knew each other since we were little.
Is there deal?
No, he's in Algeria, and he's very much into business, which is very good because then you get a completely
Different view.
different view of what a company actually means. That's when you learn that a company is, but having product does not mean you have a company.
Absolutely.
So having a product is one thing, and having a business is something completely different. If I come back to your question about IP, it's like you have a product, you have IP, and so what? What is it that you're going to do with that IP?
Might as well give it away.
So
Thanks, Tahar. We're a bit over time.
Yeah. The most important question.
Let's close in.
But let's make it very fast before clapping. Tahar, Qoblex, I think, is maybe thinking to move to Algeria because you said 2010 you were far. Maybe things are changing. Let's make it really brief.
Right. So 2025, last year we opened Qoblex Algeria. So we have a branch in Algeria, and we have employees as well. So we started hiring for
How many you
Qoblex
have so far in Algeria?
Currently, because the employees we hire, they get the sales, etc. They work for Qoblex Algeria, and we have two. My understanding, if I remember well, we have two working for Qoblex Algeria, but it's still really in its infancy stages. Like we haven't really deployed yet. We're still learning about the market. We tried to deploy last year.
At least you started, yeah.
It was a big failure because markets are very different. You know, when you build software like Qoblex, it's usually not helping on the top line. It's helping for the bottom line. To make it simple, when you have a business, you have the top line, which is your revenue. Like, how much money are you making? Like, oh, I'm making $10 million a month. But does that really mean that you are profitable? Does that actually mean that you're in a good health? Not necessarily, because what you would look like is the bottom line. And when you get to the bottom line, you remove expenses, cost, waste, and all of those things. And usually a software like Qoblex, management software, ERP like Qoblex helps you in that section. It doesn't help you with the top line, it helps you with the bottom line. And when we present this to merchants in Algeria, it's like, am I going to sell more? And it's like, nah, not yet. Then it's like, yeah, then I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But we are now shifting. We're shifting. We've introduced a point of sale last week, and it's a brand new point of sale. We have at least one customer who is an early adopter, who's using it. He's very happy with it, and the plan is to expand that. Because again, today, one of the challenges you have in Algeria is, and just to tell you a story, we still have time, right? We have
Yeah.
a little bit. So we have, I know someone in my village who has a store. And then once I walked in and he said, can you help me with something? I'm like, yeah, sure. He said, when I go to Turkey to buy stuff, I have no clue what I have in the shops. So he said, I need to call my brother, and my brother is clueless because it's not his business, his brother's business. And I asked him, how many shoes of this do I have? I was like, I don't know. So, and then he said, I struggle big time to see what I have in my shop. So he hired this agency who built something for them. And then then he put me in contact with this agency because apparently the software is not working. They actually built a virtual machine, and they have a VMware. When he said VMware, I almost dropped it. Like, what the hell? Like, that's too heavy for a shop that is selling shoes, right? But why do you need all of that? And then I showed him Qoblex in the app, and he was blown away because you're in Turkey. Username, password, two-factor authentication, boom, you check. You can actually even check how much you sold during that day, how much stock do you have, and all of these things. It is true that at the end of the day, it's inventory management, which might kind of sound like a boring problem to solve. But at the end of the day, it's a real problem. And today you have, in Algeria, you have all of these solutions. For example, you have a nice POS, but it does not connect to your accounting system. So what you do at the end of the day is you have to export everything into CSV, then you take it to the accounting software, and then it's pretty much very much fragmented. So that's why now we're going against this market and we are trying to solve this problem where we provide all of these tools, including, we haven't started there yet, but we will build something like Shopify. So it's coming as well because it's just part of the ecosystem.
Mhm.
So we start with Qoblex at the heart, and then we start expanding. So we have this point of sale mobile apps. So then you have the online experience that comes with it as well.
Very last question.
Yes.
In 1 minute or less than 1 minute. Advice. واحد عنده good idea. He thinks that it's extremely good idea. I will make billions, and it is confidential. I will not share it with anyone because I am the owner.
The owner. Yes.
I don't want to share it with anyone, and I will make billions of it.
Yes.
أعطيه advice in 1 minute.
Yes.
Not advice negative, but
Yes.
like honest.
Honest.
Positive.
Right. So the first one is within maybe 3 seconds, you go for it. You have an idea, go for it. Because then you have the long answer.
Mhm.
You know, there's this, I forgot how it's called. I think it's called the Bezos framework or something. So Jeff Bezos has this thing where he says, if you don't know how to decide on something, imagine yourself, you're 90 and you're in your deathbed. You're about to die, and then your younger self walks into the room and he tells you, when you were this age, you had this opportunity, you didn't take it. You regret that. If the answer is yes, like, damn it, I regret, I should have done this, then just go and do it. Now, the other part where I have this brilliant idea, no one has that idea, and I cannot share it with anyone because it's confidential. If no one else has thought about that idea, then it's definitely a bad idea, probably. Because yes, you do have these exceptions, the Googles and the Facebook, they happen every once in a year, right? But usually if you have an idea and there is nothing for it in the market, probably a bad idea.
It's useless, probably.
Probably, yeah, probably. Because then, well, this is maybe another session. You actually have framework on how to test whether your idea is good or not. Things like, for example, you deploy it and no one is using it.
But it's worth the risk. There is a risk.
Absolutely.
But
I think
تستاهل واحد يريسكي وقته دراهمه. إنه
yeah, I would say yes, but you need to understand what you are in for. I didn't answer your question.
Calculated risk. Calculation.
I actually do risk calculation, and I don't think it's a good idea. This is where I always mention Mohammed it's if it wasn't him, I don't think we would have ever taken off.
Should have him.
Because he's a risk taker, but you have to understand what you're in for. For example,
that's what I meant. It's not risk calculation. It's calculated risk means that, for example, you say how many money I will invest, not invest a million,
right?
Or like borrow millions and throw it. It's more calculated risk in terms like be realistic about because you're a human being, you have family, you have kids.
Yes.
So say how many time I should allocate every week.
Yes.
To do this, because you can't be super. Elon Musk doesn't sleep, for example.
Yes.
So that's what I meant. It's more seeing what we have
yes,
as a what I can deliver as an output and how many I can invest. So
yeah, I agree. And the other advice is if you are married, right, you have to get your partner to agree or to understand what you're in for. Because I didn't answer your question about workload. I don't know how much I work. Yeah, seriously, I think I'm probably around 70, 80 hours a week, probably.
Or get divorced. And then fail twice. Then you fail twice.
يعطيكم الصحة اللي مازلتوا اونلاين. هذه كانت الفيرست اكسبيرينس مع هذا البودكاست لايك. ان شاء الله ما هيش ديال لاست وان. يكونوا دوتر ان شاء الله يكونوا دوتر اكتيفيتيز ثانيه.
نمجيه شكرا. Let's see
يعطيكم الصحة.